Okay, so I have read many things recently that just I haven't felt deserve their own review, so I figured it might be a good idea to get like a quickie batch review out of the way, either because they're short stories or they're not things that I think I typically would review on this channel, so I'm not sure what the response from you all would be. I mean, switching from fantasy to sci-fi, I already get quite a few people who seem just not interested, want to stay with modern fantasy. It's cool, I get it, but I like to read a lot of things and expand my base. So what I want to do here is see if I have eye gunk. I think I might, is just do like a quickie batch review of things that either are just legitimately too short for their own review, or they just kind of fit outside of the wheelhouse and, you know, it's alternative. And starting with the most alternative by far, we have the Federalist Papers, written by mostly Alexander Hamilton. This was set out to be like less than 20 essays, and by the time it was finished, it was many, many more than that. I don't remember the exact count, but most of them are written by Alexander Hamilton to basically prove his point of federalism, which more closely resembles modern-day Democrats, versus the anti-federalists, which more closely resemble modern-day Republicans, though there are pretty extreme differences between the two, and the parallels don't line up exactly. I just read this after watching Hamilton because I didn't want to be one of these people who claim to know so much about Hamilton without actually knowing in detail what the guy believed. So I figured, hey, he's a respected rhetorician, I love rhetoric, let's see what he had to say in his most famous documents describing his beliefs. And well, he's probably the most sassy writer of the time he was in I've ever come across by far. He was clearly brilliant, and I personally do agree with many of the things he said and the parallels he draws. Regardless of your political affiliation, these are really important documents, and I recommend you pick them up just to get a better understanding of American history. I enjoy reading a lot of kind of detailed things from our past. American history does fascinate me, so it was interesting, especially seeing how his papers stacked up against the others who he recruited to contribute as well. He certainly has the majority, and even his worst opinions are much better written than everyone else's. Clearly a genius mind who has very little patience for those who can't really back their arguments against him super well, and he seems to be becoming more and more frustrated as the papers go on with just the lack of substantive arguments to go against. He has a good time, it seems, just blowing apart arguments and being like, well, here's why you're wrong. It's neat, it's a good read, and I enjoyed it deeply. Next up, we have a gift from my dad. It is the Edgar Allan Poe Complete Tales and Poems, and I've been burning through it, like almost one a night, just kind of going through his short stories and poems. You know, everything they say about Edgar Allan Poe is true. He is one of the true monoliths of horror, and I appreciate my dad getting me this collection. He captures tone like no one else, and as far as I've come across, he seems to understand the way to evoke emotions much better than most of his peers at the time, not just horror, but disgust and things along those lines. He has a thorough grasp. Yes, his personal life, he was a messed up guy, and his death is somewhat mysterious, which is interesting as well with a horror author, and he was clearly screwed up. The more you read about him, he didn't have a very traditional life, but his writings are sheer brilliance, and you can see his impact ongoing. Speaking of impactful horror, I've also been reading through the H.P. Lovecraft Great Tales of Horror, and him, it's much more hit or miss. Edgar Allan Poe's complete collections have been just amazing, just consistently one after another. There's nothing weak. There's better and there's good, but there's never anything less than good in my mind. Meanwhile, H.P. Lovecraft Tales of Horror has been either like, wow, I can see why that was so controversial and great for the time, versus like, that was a big pile of nothing. And it's not a matter of me like not getting it. Trust me, there's just certain things he wrote that are just not a lot there, and he seems to be trying to condense his horror into a very anticlimactic, not enjoyable, I feel like he was one of these things where he's like, oh, this is so deep, and I'm reading it, and I'm like, bro, it's really not. We all can see what you're doing right on the surface there. So for him, I still respect H.P. Lovecraft immensely. His ideas were way ahead of their time, and his basically, popularization of the idea of cosmic nihilism, especially in fiction writing, which he can arguably is the first person to in fiction writing put in cosmic nihilism, is sheer brilliance. But, you know, like every brilliant author, he's hit or miss. And in this collection, it seems that I've just kind of included his misses places as well. So for those of you interested in horror, I would definitely lead more towards the Edgar Allan Poe. I actually have a decent history of reviewing horror on this channel, from Dracula to I Am Legend to Stephen King, and there will be more of it in the future because I like reading horror, my guys. And I'm going to end this kind of quickie batch review with probably the most pulp thing I'll bring up again, but I've read a couple more of the Doc Savage books just out of sheer curiosity after reading the first one that my dad gave me and just having it be such a fun, enjoyable pile of pulp. Nothing of substance there, just sheer fun, wish fulfillment BS, but it's so good at being that, and it's so self-aware that it makes me appreciate intentionally not great things. I don't want to call it bad because it's good at what it does. And what it does is intentionally not be that great. It's an interesting setting. God, what is with my eye right now? It's an interesting situation for the book to be in. And if you guys are interested in what real pulp is, I don't think I can think of a better place to start than Doc Savage. John Carter almost transitions out of being pulp at times, so I wouldn't entirely recommend that. I think I would just say pick up a Doc Savage book, probably free online. In fact, I'm almost certain you can find them free, and just read it in an hour, because you'll be able to read it in an hour. That's it for my first quickie batch review for the channel. Let me know in the comments down below if you enjoyed this or you hated it. I will be going on vacation, not this week, but the week after next. It's a company trip, and so I'm gonna try to have a backlog of videos for you guys, but if I don't have enough, there might be some days coming up without videos, and I apologize for that. I already have one that's scheduled just to release while I'm out there that's basically talking about the future of me and sponsors in this channel, but as of right now, that's all I have to say in this video. Like and subscribe if you have not already. Hit the Patreon if you want to support my channel. Thank you, patrons. Again, I've been having this recent blow up of people supporting the channel that way, and it's getting me to points I never thought I would be at in terms of being able to sustain, improve, and grow with the channel. So again, thank you, you guys. You mean more to me than you know. So that's all, y'all. Have a good one. Peace.